So joining us to discuss is Dr. Giselle Jamison, Director of Political Science Programs at St. Thomas University in Miami, Florida. Dr. Jamison, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Jamison, do you see, given the recent events in Ukraine, etc., do you see potentially a slowdown or maybe even a reversal in the globalization trend?
Well, the short and the quick answer is yes, not a reversal, but perhaps a little bit of a slowdown, particularly because, as we very much are all aware in following this trend, the political processes that are occurring in Ukraine are tied hand in hand with economic processes. And we have oil in the mixture of this that all of us in the West needed desperately. So how this process will develop might put a little bent as we're moving forward in the processes of globalization.
I think Europe seems to be in a tough spot at the moment. They want to diversify their energy source from Russia, but it seems they can't afford to do it because they're just so heavily reliant on Russia. Do you see a change in the way Western governments handle relationships with countries like Russia and China to not allow these countries so much leverage over them in the future?
It will have to be. I mean, if there is one, I wouldn't say positive, but perhaps one outcomes that might be good of all of this is that we are seeing, even with the short period of time since the conflict started, a unified Europe, which we didn't see that with the UK leaving the European Union. There were serious question marks, particularly for us academicians that are, study this and teach this. And now we saw in the short period of time seem to be a reversal, a positive reversal for Europe, a unified, particularly in the last week, in the last days. That is a positive trend. Also, if the Biden administration can capture the momentum with countries that perhaps have not seen eye to eye, particularly since the Trump administration, right? And they can form a more unified front, then we might see more positive coming out of this and a more uniform way of how do you deal with autocratic governments.
It's incredible. United States and perhaps Europe as well is incredibly reliant on China for medicine, just like Europe is for oil. You think this whole event of almost weaponizing commodities has come as a surprise to Western governments?
It shouldn't, right? I mean, we have been dealing with this, with the deepening of capitalization and your question at the beginning, right, of globalization for a long time. And all of a sudden, we act surprised. I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody. But I think it's more like a little wake-up call of saying, is there a different way to deal with issues that are of extreme necessity? You're correct. The medicine, the pandemic show us how vulnerable we are, not just with medicines, right? But even simple masks of how to, or the famous vaccine, and all these issues come together that they might be, a revitalization of this new economic order that was supposed to be new and it was supposed lasting, and perhaps it's not as new and as lasting as originally thought.
A lot of questions still to answer. Dr. Giselle Jamison, St. Thomas University, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. My pleasure. Have a good day.